What's up, traders? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is September 23rd, 2021. Please go ahead, click the like button on this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Helps get the word out about Pristine Capital. Today, we're going to talk about this crazy day in the markets. We're going to talk about my trades for the session and really just some thoughts on the madness today. Before we do that, quick first disclaimer, nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. Last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades or anyone's trades for that matter. All right, let's jump into it, team. So, indices. So right off the jump, we had some strength in the market, and that strength really carried through the entire trading day. So we had S&P 500 as measured by the SPY trading up 1.21% today. We had the NASDAQ QQQ lagging the pack, which is something we've been talking about the past couple days. We have the IWM small caps, which traded up 1.77%, our big winner for the day. I came into today's trading session with some IWM calls and actually added to that position. And then we have the Dow Jones, dogs of the Dow that are actually not behaving like dogs anymore. Closed up 1.48%, and the breadth was really nice across the board. We had, best was the Dow Jones with 90% advancers. Worst was actually the small caps with 84% advancers. These are really strong numbers across the board today, team. All right, so let's talk about what happened today. So let's go through the S&P 500. So overnight, we started seeing some strength in the market, and we ended up getting the jobs report out at about 8:30 a.m. this morning. It was slightly worse than expected, but pretty much everything is on par for the Fed taper that's coming up. I kept talking about this, how everyone knew exactly what Powell's going to say. So is the world really going to end when everyone knows that the taper is coming? No. And especially, shout out to, this guy's name is Joseph. I tweeted him out saying everyone should follow him. He put out a really good piece, which essentially said that the Fed is going to be tapering their asset purchases, but they're going to be doing that at the same time that the Treasury is going to be issuing less, Treasury bonds, Treasury notes, T-bills, etc. So basically, they're going to balance each other out. So yeah, S&P 500 had some really nice strength today. The VIX came off quite a bit. And look at this. We opened on the lows, and we did not close on the highs, but this is still a really nice daily closing range. We closed above the 5-day EMA. That was where we closed yesterday. I was like, okay, can we successfully reclaim the monthly value area and get above this 5-day EMA? We just boosted right through that. We actually jumped right through this monthly point of control at 44.16, and we jumped right over the 50-day moving average as well. Not to mention, we jumped over the top of this downward trend channel that we had been stuck in for about 14 days. So this is a pretty big day for the markets. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. And just, a lot of stocks, we actually got some nice rotation today. So we're going to talk about that too. But NASDAQ was our big laggard. It's above this monthly value area, so still looking good. But yeah, definitely the laggard coming off of this bottom. And we're already starting to see next month's value area forming, because it already is September 23rd. We have to start thinking about month end, and we're below next month's value area. So we have that. Russell is my dark horse. So I am loaded up with the Russell. And I just think this is such a great setup forming. I believe I talked about this yesterday, probably the day before as well. But here we made a low, then we made a higher low, then we made a third higher low. And this showed relative strength throughout the entire breakdown in the markets that occurred over the past few weeks. And now we're getting a strong move off the bottom. The Russell is above the 20-day simple moving average, which is unique. The S&P 500 not above it, Dow Jones not above it, NASDAQ QQQ not above it. So IWM is leading us. And IWM, we made it all the way through this value area. I was surprised at how quickly we did this. I thought we might stop at the 20-day moving average today, and that would have been like, all right, mission accomplished. We cleared at least the 50-day. We cleared that point of control. That would have been great. We actually did even better. So we even tagged the top of value. So what I'm looking for, the next couple days, weeks, etc., is a move out of this monthly value area. And I think it makes like perfect logical sense, because basically we had the 2020 market was crazy, right? We all remember that market. Small caps were booming, all these, meme stocks, SPACs, like it was just small cap stocks were crushing it. Then once February rolled around, that all changed. The small caps have been the worst place to be all year. They have done absolutely nothing, team. Look at the weekly chart. It's been since February. Yeah, this is February 8th over here. We've done nothing. It's been 7.5 months, team, of consolidation. Meanwhile, take a look at the NASDAQ weekly chart. Look at this. It's just been up only, all the time. Same thing with the S&P 500. It's been up only all the time. So I really think, the Dow Jones, and we'll flip over to the Dow Jones as well. Dow Jones has still been pretty good, but it really just kind of tailed off in the last, really over the summer. So I really think these small caps, if the taper's coming and people say like, I don't want to be in the most crowded areas of the market, I really think these are ripe. So that's what I'm playing for. This weekly candle that's forming is looking fantastic so far. All right, so let's jump under the hood. We'll take a look at what's going on there. So Finviz heat map, exactly what we've just been saying, like the Apple only up 0.67%. Compare that to the banks. MasterCard was up 3.1%. JPM was up 3.38%. Facebook was up 0.8%. Google up 0.67%. Microsoft barely even up. Tesla barely up. So to me, it seems like we might be getting some movement out of these names. And you can see energy very strong. The semis were performing pretty good as well. Just a lot of these different areas of the market that are now showing strength. Sectors, same exact deal. Regional banks were up 3.8% today. That should definitely speak to you, because that's saying, hey, this market is doing something a little bit different, and we are seeing rotation here. Energy up 3.5%, and the SPAC ETF is in our top momentum slot. So you should see that and go, okay, something different is happening here. I want to make sure I'm not doing, the same exact things in my portfolio, or that, I'm not fully concentrated in mega cap tech, that sort of thing. But yeah, there were a lot of groups that did very well today. Utilities were the only thing, or not only thing, utilities were red. Real estate was also red. Those have been two hideout areas in the market when the whole market basically looked like garbage, but we were still going higher just on a few, small groups. So it's saying something that money's coming out of those groups. It looks like this rally is broadening. And how crazy would that be if into year end, because we all know once we get through the early part of October, we've made it through the toughest seasonality of the year. Then the end of year seasonality gets really, really good, team. So not saying it has to play out that way, but sort of like the dominoes are falling in such a way where wouldn't it make sense that seasonality gets better? We finally have this taper behind us. We have our 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th COVID shots that are out. And, maybe that's getting better as well. And we start getting broader participation. So that's really like my baseline assumption right now. Style factors, high beta is in our top slot. So that should also speak to that there's rotation going on in the market. And then momentum up 2.06%. But yeah, across the board, some broad strength. Worst performer today is Minvol, which is a very defensive area of the market. So to me, it looks clear as day what's going on here. And then, we'll pull up some individual charts. So I think there were just a lot of names that are really just showing, something different is happening in this market. For instance, Expedia. Look at what Expedia did today. This is a really nice move. So just to draw this in, it's not going to be perfect, but yeah, so Expedia looks like, hey, this thing has been flagging out and kind of weak for a while. Now it's approaching the top of this trend line. A name like Digital Turbine, which I just added this one into our long-term trend portfolio. Look at what this one's doing. This one is starting to make the turn on the weekly chart as well. So we're just seeing a lot of these names. JPM, banks. Hasn't really done anything for a while, but it looks like it's starting to do something a little bit different. So yeah, definitely seeing, you know, just a lot of these, you know, areas of the market where it's actually refreshing. Like, because for the past couple of months, it's been like there's this core group of growth names. They're software stocks. They are going up. Everything else is going down. So this would actually be pretty cool. Whenever the market switches gears like this, I think there's opportunities for astute investors and traders to really get on the right side of it, because that's our edge. You know, that we're watching the market every single day. We're looking at the price action and we're seeing what's going on under the hood, and we can actually react to that. So yeah, these names all looking very solid. Let's take a look at some of my trades for today. And yeah, so for a while it was like, all right, you know, the market's pretty weak. You know, I think it's going to turn. And today was like officially like, okay, we just turned. So I had some SPY calls coming into today, some September 30th, 432 calls. Closed these out for 964. I said might roll this out in time. I ended up rolling it into the small caps. Also closed out my Nvidia calls for a nice winner at 936. Said, you know, same thing, might roll these out in time. And then I immediately got long, you know, pretty much right off the open. Once I closed those out, I parlayed that into this IWM October 15th, 225 by 235 call spread. And I got long this for $2.88, which I was like, let's go, you know, because basically like the market is not pricing in the fact that the small caps could indeed break out. And I was like, you know, I'm going to go for that. Really, you know, if this call spread works, you know, I'm risking $2.88 to make a potential $7.12. So yeah, went into that, you know, really sized up for that trade. And then I closed out my PDD October 100 calls for 345. I'd paid 555. I just said trimming the fat because over the past couple days, I don't want to say like I've been in a slump, but the market was, you know, kind of weak. I entered some longs into the close on Friday, and then Monday was our big like gap down day. So you can get a little bit discombobulating. You really have to write yourself. This PDD, I just haven't been able to nail this one. And sometimes that happens where you're trading a stock and you just realize you're like out of sync with it. Like you're always one step behind. I would say PDD is currently that stock for me. So I was like, you know what, I'm stopping out of this. And sure enough, you know, it ended up closing positive on the day, up 0.7%. So this to me is just further indication, like with this stock, you know, just wait for it to get above the 20-day moving average. You know, that's probably a much better entry point, because this one, I was like, this name is not working for me. I gotta, you know, just rotate out of this one. So yeah, I got out of that one. Immediately once I did, it was like, all right, now we're cooking. This one right here, 1059, I had some October 15th, 441 SPY calls. I closed out of those for a tiny winner, basically a scratch. Closed them out for 805, paid 799. And I said, we'll either roll this into something else or add on an intraday dip. And really it was just, you know, the SPY was already pretty elevated during the day. These I've been sitting on. At one point they were like a 50% loss. They went positive. I was like, you know what? I'm not seeing the relative strength in SPY. I want to reallocate this to something else. So I got long the Dow Jones 348 calls for $4.98. Very rarely do I get long the dogs of the Dow, but I flipped into them today. So yeah, dogs of the Dow looking good. And then Twitter announced a big headline today. I saw this hit the wire. I immediately jumped into Twitter. So they announced that they're going to be allowing people to tip in Bitcoin. How cool is that, team? So, you know, like if you run like a Twitter space, if you have super follows on Twitter, you know, we can start sending each other Bitcoin on Twitter. That is awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so, yeah, Twitter, I was like, oh my gosh, this to me, in terms of like the history of this digital asset revolution, to me, this was a huge milestone. This day could end up going down basically in history. Like, I don't want to get too crazy, but yeah, it could go down in history as like, you know, Twitter, I believe, has like 350 million users, a lot of users. I'm sure a lot of them have no exposure to Bitcoin and probably know nothing about it. Now it's going to become that much more mainstream, because we all know in terms of using a product, trying a service, or even if something you have a stigma against it, like there's a lot of people that still think Bitcoin, that's a scam. Said my 65-year-old money manager, or like whatever. And it's, the more you learn about the technology, like it's clearly not a scam. It being on Twitter, I just think that's a huge step. So once I saw that headline, I immediately got long some Twitter calls. The October 65 calls for 287. And Twitter is also at a very interesting point here. And I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to do this on my trading view because I like the drawing tools a little bit better. But Twitter. So I got long this stock earlier in the year and had a really nice trade with Twitter. I had an over 100% winner. It was pretty cool. And I ended up exiting Twitter at a pretty good location as well, where the trend started weakening. Boom, hit out of it, took my gain. Now I'm finally getting back in. I think this is a really nice little pattern here. And you can see we have this sort of like diamond that's coming into play. This is it's called a symmetrical triangle. And it's not exactly like a bullish or bearish pattern. Really all it's telling you is that the price action is consolidating. And really, whichever way this breaks, to the upside or the downside, that's really the way it should be played from a technical trading point of view. So I see what's going on. I'm a big Twitter fan. I'm on Twitter all the time. And I know what's going on Twitter. Huge fan of it. I see this technical pattern, saw that headline. I was like, boom, let's do it. I'm getting along these Twitter calls. So yeah, really liking this setup as well. And with Twitter, first thing that came to my mind as well, literally, so I saw this news come out. I immediately put it in the Pristine Capital trading room chat. And I immediately put my position on. So immediate first thing that came to my mind, this is the Amplify Transformational Data Sharing ETF. It's basically a blockchain ETF. Ticker's block. Has all the blockchain names, etc. NVIDIA is a 4% holding in this ETF because NVIDIA, people buy the GPUs for mining. Now that Twitter is going to be doing this Bitcoin payments, who's to say Twitter can't be added to this blockchain ETF? When something gets added to an ETF, that's more incremental flows. So that to me was, boom, within like 20 seconds, I was into that trade. So yeah, Twitter got long that one. And then at the same time, just jumping over to my common stock, I immediately got long Bitcoin in my trading account, the GBTC ETF for 35.27. So I was like, boom, boom, that's bullish for Bitcoin. It's bullish for Twitter. And then also I did take some targets. So I closed out half of my original IWM position. I had some November 19th, 220 calls. Closed them out for 1040. I'd paid $7.95. I just want to make sure I'm being prudent, at least taking targets on some stuff, because a lot of times after a huge day like this, you get a little bit of a hangover the next day. So yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a few targets, took off half of that. Then I closed out 30% of my Roku October 15th, 330 by 340 call spread for 512. I paid $4 for that. Roku, let's take a look. Let's take a little sneak peek at Roku. And Roku, up 3% today. There was some selling though in Roku. You can see this is a red candle. So that's another reason why I was like, let me take a target in this one. Because Roku, it could make its way out of this little channel. Definitely could. But it's still like, it still has some work to do. So yeah, I took a target in this one. Nice target. Closed out for 512. I had paid $4 for that. It's a nice little, around like a 25% winner. I'll take it. And then, yeah, for stock trading, I went all in today. So Palantir, got long this one in the morning for $28. Palantir still looks solid. This is the weekly chart. Let's look at the daily chart. Yeah, so Palantir, there's actually a virgin point of control right over here. And Palantir took that out and then corrected, when the market had its spill. Now this is take two. Now we're getting back up to that level. Let's see if we can actually get the breakout in Palantir. So you got long that one, had a nice finish for the day. And then I got long Affirm into the close at 357, and I got long TMO in the after hours. Affirm, this stock is just such a juggernaut. I added this into the long-term portfolio as well. And Affirm, this is a power earnings gap setup, triggered the peg and closed right up at the pivot. So yeah, Affirm, this company is a buy now, pay later company. They just scored a partnership with Amazon, which, think about how much e-commerce is done on Amazon, team. So that's huge. So this stock bounced huge on that Amazon partnership. Then they announced earnings, and boom, another really nice move. Now we're actually, it looks like we're about to surpass that. So yeah, Firm looks really solid. And then TMO, it's another power earnings gap setup that I was watching. And they announced after hours, they authorized a big share repurchase program. Let's take a look. I'm going to see if I even saw that right. Because, you know, with a breaking news trade like this, breaking news trades, I think they work better when you're in a very accommodative tape, when the market is moving in your favor. And let's take a look. Search TMO. Oh yeah, there we go. Wait, what? Okay, here it is. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, TMO, Thermo Fisher Scientific, authorizes $3 billion of share repurchases. So that's going to lower their denominator in terms of all their per share metrics. That's going to boost their metrics. They announced good earnings the other day too. So I was like, you know what? I'm going for it. I'm buying it. So yeah, we'll see tomorrow how this one opens up. That's it for my trading for today. Today was a much better trading day, obviously. I think it was for everyone that was long. I think it's important though, like if you made some mistakes and, the market corrected, don't forget what that feels like. Because, I made some mistakes as well. It's always a learning opportunity. And it really just goes to show that when the market starts looking a little bit worse, a little bit suspect, for the most part, it makes sense to be a little bit less risk on and just, take your time and be patient. Because, you'll see once that market bottoms and you're coming off the bottom, there's so much money to be made. It's just important to not give back everything when the market corrects. But yeah, this has been, like a 14-day corrective sequence. So yeah, it was a slog. And, we'll have to see, if this strength continues. So yeah, overall, really nice trading day. That being said, that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you all had a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow for Friday.